straight from the halls of Vancouver Fashion Week.
The internet's been my one true love for like over 10 years, I think. Like, you know, it's where I spend a lot of my time. I'm happiest when I'm messing around with technology and building things and doing stuff, and I'm also like when I can flex my creative muscles and do artistic things. So kind of combining the two, the technology, internet stuff that I do with my photography and video and other types of art, that's the stuff that makes me the happiest.
Buongiorno Internet, KK here with Robert Scales. Hello. Rolling in the back of a cab here in Torino, Italy.
We decided the best thing to do would be go to 2006 games, and it was a blast. We registered at the media center and just got out onto the streets and tried to cover like the cultural side of what's involved with what goes on during Olympic Games. So we're out interviewing the people on the street from all over the world, athletes when we could find them, venues, arts and culture events, and stuff like that.
You know, I was at Salt Lake and did a whole real-time photo documentation of my 28 events in 13 days, which was no small feat. What I realized throughout that time was what you see on TV is very different than what happens on the ground. It was so much fun. You go into these hospitality houses and you're partying with athletes, you're partying with these people from foreign countries, dancing there with this group of girls, and we're having a good time, and this guy keeps on taking pictures of these girls. I'm like, what's up, dude? And I realized this is Claudia Pechstein. She just set a new world record in the 500-meter speed skate. No one pretends that there's this veil of amateurism to the sports anymore. It is a commercial enterprise run by the IOC, and it keeps a lot of dudes very, very rich, right? And there's always a scandal, and there's always a thing, but at the heart of it, it gives a chance for people from foreign countries to get together and hang out. And if you have that going on enough in the world, it's going to be a much, happier place all around, you know? We're manifesting reality. We're creating something that hasn't really been done. There was a real independent media center, a more independent media center in Torino, not so much in Beijing. But what we're doing is trying to create a completely independent alternative.
So here is like the lay of the land as I understand it for the 2010 games. There's going to be multiple levels of media accreditation. There will be the accredited media who will get to go work out at the accredited media center. And the accredited media in this case isn't all the mainstream media as you might think, but it's just the rights holders of the game. So it's folks like CTV in Canada won the right to be the national broadcaster or whatever. They paid a lot of money to do so. CBC got locked out. You know, in the States, it's NBC is the official rights holder and CNN is not. Next, there will be a secondary level. It's going to be called it's really the unaccredited media center. It's going to be called the BC IMC, the BC International Media Center.
They see the internet as a threat. Dick Pound came out, one of the IOC members, and said the internet is the second biggest threat after doping. Like, come on.
They don't want to exclude bloggers per se. They want to let some of them in, but they don't really know how to adjudicate who's a good blogger who should be let in versus one who's just using their blog to get special access to the games.
My name is Rebecca Bulwitt, and I write a blog called Miss 604, and it's been around since about 2004, and since 2006 I've been involved with something called Blogathon, and it's where bloggers sign up to raise money for a cause. And in the spirit of other athons, like a spellathon or walkathon, we're going to be blogging, or we are blogging, every half hour for 24 hours straight.
I came down here to talk about True North Media House because really the people who are here are the people that I envision, and their counterparts from other countries will be the ones participating in True North Media House as far as using it actually as a resource to create media. Kris, Krug and I went down to the Worldwide Press Briefing. We went there and right away we were grouped in with the protesters. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's up with that. Is it the way I dress? Is it the way I look? But as soon as we walked in, they're like, you can protest over there. I'm like, no, we're here to report. You know, so it really seems like for people like myself and you folks who are people with a blog or a podcast or a vidcast, or you take pictures and you have an established audience, you understand the nuances of what you're doing and how to address your audience. You have an established track record of providing coverage to people. There's no place for people like us, right?
Well, the thing is, with my site, I love covering Vancouver from my perspective, my family's perspective, my friends' perspective, you know, things that are accessible to people. And I think that's what I want to be covering, you know, the different little satellite events and just the way that the city's coming alive during that time.
So in November 2008, we really started to pull the truck out of the garage, so to speak. The VANOC had shut us out of their worldwide press briefing. We wrote the first open letter. We had a tremendous response. We called a general meeting, just whoever wanted to show up, and it was like a who's who of media makers in Vancouver. Everyone from the anti-Olympic folks like Kris to the official Olympic reporter for the Vancouver Sun, Jeff Lee. So you knew you're doing something right. We have kind of both ends of the spectrum.
You know, here in May 2009, we've had like maybe 5 organizing meetings. A couple of our organizing meetings have had up to 70 people at them.
Well, after we did the presentation at Capilano College the other day, I really took a lot away from both the immediacy of this project and the ability it has to generate a lot of interest really quick. So I've kind of surfaced again to try and rally the troops together to get something up and get a few of these little hurdles that we've been kind of bumping up against, you know, because of the realities of day jobs and organizations and tasks and stuff like that. And invited folks up here today to kind of get a few things pushed over the top to think about how do we aggregate content, how do we share the content, what's the message and the purpose behind the website. To be honest, I haven't been really tapped into the conversation about space. Some of the other colleagues are working on that, and you know, I was finding myself getting a little overwhelmed because there's all these different moving parts to this project. And I mean, each of these components, you open one question and it goes, and 30 more questions pop out, and a 3-month project pops out of each thing. So I've sort of distanced myself a little bit from the space and saying that whether or not there's space or not space, we need to have these basic resources available to people.
I go to a couple events every year that really kind of shape my new media, online media worldview. You know, one is South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, which is awesome because it's the real heavy hitters of the technology, specifically the internet industry. Here in Vancouver, I'm involved with this conference called Northern Voice. And Northern Voice is like a personal publishing and online media conference.
Well, how does a community try to self-organize to actually report on things that are happening around neighborhoods but the mainstream media don't have time or inclination perhaps to address? So I think that one aspect of what social media or new media reporting involves is trying to redress that very narrow lens through which the Olympics is focused.
So there's a whole bunch of folks who came over for Northern Voice who are like the cultural ethnographers for the 2012 games, and they'll definitely be here for 2010. When you're walking around with your phone connected to a Wi-Fi network at the Olympics and you're taking pictures of your friends with gold medalists, you don't think of it as, you know, media coverage or whatever. It's just become a reflex. So anytime you're studying something that changes super gradually over time, it's really hard to notice the incremental change day to day. But if every 2 years you take a stop and a look and you say, how much has the media changed at this games compared to how it was 2 years ago, it's that perfect lens to focus your research and kind of your studies about.
We're at a cataclysmic point in human history where the media has taken, you know, the grassroots has boiled up and is now, you know, leveling up against the mainstream media. Can we use this as something that we can launch this into the next, you know, something new for the future that years from now people can go, wow, it really changed in Vancouver.